We took electric meter interval data, which is a snapshot of what the meter's doing every 15 minutes, and we put it on the internet. And the reason we did that is because we didn't want the guy who's in charge of the electrical expense to go unaudited and to go willy-nilly. It wasn't my money, so I cared, but I didn't care as much as if it was in my pocket. So the end result was we developed a hardware and software platform where I can look at utilities in real time. And the goal of this was to be able to take that systemic problem of people want to manage it, but they can't look at it, and solve that problem. And so I founded a company called Net Metering Incorporated. We're patent pending. We have a hardware software platform, as well as consulting and analysis. And I'm also a director of Green 20 now. So what we'll do is go through how we use, I guess, my background in this technology to develop quick hits, underlying things that are easy. We have paybacks of, the quickest one I've had is 2 hours. I did one, actually I'm in the middle of a project now that had a $1.48 million energy spend on 540,000 square feet. In the first year, we have saved them quantifiable through statistical analysis, beyond a reasonable doubt, $387,000. They didn't do any capital. They spent no money to get this. Well, that's false. They spent $16,000 to get $380,000 in savings the first year. So very minimal cost. So with that, I'll drop into quick hits. Everybody wants to talk about big capital projects and Noresco and Amoresco and all these big companies going in and spending tons of money. But what we want to do is make sure your baseline is correct. Is the energy consumed today correct for what the application is? Be it an office building, a healthcare facility, a manufacturing facility. We want to make sure that baseline's correct. What we find is most baselines are incorrect. Everybody know what I mean by baseline? Your current utility usage and your past utility usage. That's what I refer to in baseline. So energy audits. Anybody ever had an energy audit? I know more than that. How'd the energy audit go? Tommy, what did you get from your energy audit?
Initially, 5 to 6 years ago, we got a lot of it. More recently, we found things that were running when they should be running, be it a control problem or a human intervention problem.
So when we do an energy audit, we go in, we take a snapshot of the building, we look at a bunch of different things that are proven out there, and we say we can invest in this, wrap the water heater, put new door gaskets in, mess with the air conditioning to make it more efficient. CO2 control is one, or enthalpy, using outside air to cool, heat exchangers. We can go through all these things, but again, that's a snapshot in time. The goal here is get the baseline correct and start measuring. Because if I give you this data in 15-minute increments and put it in front of you, you're most likely going to be able to drive some business results, even if you know nothing about air conditioning or building systems. I have 2 people in the building that actually found their elevators on. Elevators are traction elevators, the old cable type, and in those there's a timeout relay. So if somebody comes in and hits the button at 1 o'clock and doesn't hit it again until 2 o'clock, the elevator's supposed to shut down. It's called the GTO relay. So I had somebody who wasn't familiar with this technology actually be able to say, hey, my night load looks like it's elevated. I don't know why, but it looks like it's elevated. So then she relayed to the experts, and we figured out that they were timeout relays, which had failed, causing the energy to be consumed all night. So baseline, you have to measure it, collect the data, act, pick a project, low cost, high value. Measure the success. So we're all into feedback. If we pick an item, and I'm going to pick on Tommy Russo again, just because he's texting. I'm sorry, he's tweeting. He's checking on the Rutherford deal. Tommy, when Tommy's building was actually put on the internet 7 months ago, 8 months ago, and we did a real-time assessment of it, and we were focusing on the results, and I forget what my next one is, but the results of Tommy's audit, we looked at the unoccupied load. So when a building's occupied, you really can't save energy. That's when the rents are coming in. So I can't really effectively start shedding things without upsetting tenants. Well, we want tenants because they pay the bills. What we found with Tommy's building was when we benchmarked it and we looked at the data in real time, his unoccupied load was elevated. So his KW, when the building is supposed to be asleep, was elevated significantly. So we did a night audit, and this is a LEED gold, silver building. So on day one it was LEED silver, but that constant feedback is what we're looking for. So I offered to go up and work with Tommy and say, let's walk the building. And we found a series of motors running that everyone thought was off because they were in hand or they were jumped out on a LEED silver building. And the value annualized was, help me, 100,000?
Yeah.
It was significant. So for a simple night audit yielded $100,000 in savings. So let's say the night audit cost you $200 an hour. The payback is infinite. This is where we talked about payback before, and all the paybacks are moving closer to zero. We're talking 1 hour payback maybe, 20 minutes by presenting the data. So quick hits. When we look at the data, any questions, thoughts, comments, snide remarks? Yes, I'm still standing up. When we look at buildings, they have building automation systems, they have variable frequency drives, they have upgraded lighting. We have to make an assumption that all those have a common denominator. And the common denominator is people. And people, I know I do, I tend to make mistakes every now and again. I forget things, especially as I get older. So the goal here is how do we continually look at that facility and make sure we're not making mistakes. We look at it every 15 minutes. Some of the quick hits that we find after we do an audit or embed the technology, optimizing building start-stop times. When we look at a building, most people start the building at 2, 3, or 4 in the morning, and let's say it's drawing 1,000 kilowatts. We can actually tell you when exactly to start it so that your expenses are minimized and your tenants don't get impacted with temperature. We find that most optimal start-stop systems, if people know what that is, it basically looks at outside temperature, inside temperature, and does the calculations. Most of those are incorrect to the detriment of the building owner. So we actually work with looking at the utility data and looking at the interior temperature of the building and tell you exactly when to start that building. And that changes as the seasons go through. Optimize unoccupied load, that's the Homer building. We look at the unoccupied load. Are things running that shouldn't be running? Are servers drawing electricity that we should be billing back for? And we provide a platform to handle that. One of the largest ones I had was I had a 3-building complex in Washington, D.C., and there was a night college in there. It was 500,000 square feet worth of buildings. There was a night college in 10,000 square feet. The customer already had a Siemens Apogee 600 system, a system more than adequate to handle any type of programming we needed to do. All 3 buildings had the same occupancy schedule. So that means that the buildings were supposed to start at 8 in the morning, and the college said, we want it run till 11 o'clock at night. Now it's a 10,000 square foot tenant in 500,000 square foot of building. They never grouped the air conditioning to just satisfy that tenant. They broadcast the schedule among all 3 buildings. The savings per hour were about $400 an hour. By taking that 10,000 square foot tenant and making just air conditioning for them, not the 490,000 remaining. So this is simple, low-hanging fruit, quick hits, and it's huge savings, significant. I know nobody will believe me. Come up to me after and I will show you the actual data.